Well, it's a cold, wet, rainy day in the Pacific Northwest. That's really different. Let's see, I like this step better. So I thought I would answer some questions. I've got a bunch of questions on my cell phone. I've been collecting these. These are questions folks have given to me about the bus. So I thought I would go through these. Don't think this will be a real long video, but maybe it'll answer your questions. If you have a question that I don't answer, put it in the comments and I'll come up with an answer for you. First question is usually, why did you buy a bus? And it's a fair question. My expectation is this bus is going to fulfill two different purposes. One of them is just a simple camper, and it's going to be, go out for 3 or 4 days and come home kind of camper, not a full-time small house on wheels. No, it's not that. It's going to be simpler than that. And you may think, well, why didn't you just buy an RV? And part of it is I wanted something that was a little more rugged. Some of the RVs, if you take them up on, say, a Forest Service road that's washboard and rutted and terrible, they can take quite a beating. This bus is going to be tough enough that it can take those adventures and keep giving. So that's part of it. And part of it is to respond to emergency service calls. I'm a ham radio operator, and I volunteer with my local county, Snohomish County, and I'm also credentialed with the state of Washington. So if a major event happens and they need auxiliary communications, I get deployed. An example would be the Oso slide that happened about a decade ago, when the community of Oso was wiped off the map from a huge landslide that came off the side of almost the size of a mountain. Big hill, and we got deployed for several days, some of us with the Red Cross, some of us supporting county agencies, search and rescue, things like that. And when the landslide happened, it took out all the communication lines. So there was no cell phone, there was no telephones, there was nothing. And so we deployed. And I'd like to be able to deploy for 4 or 5 days at a time without being a burden on the local emergency community, and being able to provide a great service and be comfortable enough that I can focus on the job at hand. So that's the second reason for the bus. Some people have asked me, why a bus instead of, say, a utility trailer or a box truck? Or why didn't you just get a full-size bus instead of a 5-window short bus? I tried the trailer actually last year at a 5-day event in the mountains around Mount St. Helens. And what I discovered was there's nowhere to turn around. You're in an articulated situation between your vehicle and the trailer, and I found that what I was ending up doing was disconnecting the trailer, turning my truck around, then hand turning the trailer around, reconnecting the trailer so I could reverse direction. That's not tenable in an emergency. So that got axed. The utility truck, I actually looked at a utility truck or a box truck, but I like the idea of the driver being connected to any passengers. So if I'm carrying, for example, an injured runner, at one of the events, or I'm carrying just another ham radio operator, somebody like that, I want to be able to be connected with them as they're in the body of the vehicle. And the bus does that really, really nicely. Box truck, you've got a wall, maybe you've got a little cutout, but bus was the answer. Full-size bus would be just too big. A full-sized bus, I wouldn't be able to turn that around on the Forest Service trails if deployed out in the wilderness. Plus, gas mileage and so much more work to do. This 5-window short bus is plenty of work, so that's enough. Is your bus new? That's one of the questions. No, it's a 2016, but it's in great shape. It's got 40,000 miles on the odometer, and the college that owned it took good care of it. So the bones of the bus are really good. And that's one of the reasons I purchased this bus, is that it's a good framework to start from. Next question, how long will the conversion take? I've given myself a deadline of end of July of 2025 so that the first big event that I participate each year is at the beginning of August. And I need to be able to get out and provide ham radio support at that time. And it's 5 days up in the woods around Mount St. Helens. And the bus needs to be ready. So we're working on that schedule. Are you doing all of the work yourself? Heck no. There's already been a half a dozen other people who have jumped in to provide help with electrical, with help, just muscles to get the floors out of the bus, grinding out screws, and the chair rail are gone, and there'll be a video on that coming out soon. Pulling out the ceiling. It's been a ton of work. Have I done some of the work? Oh yes. Oh yeah, I pulled the walls out and a few other things. But no, I am blessed to have a bunch of people who are eager to play in Dave's project and come out for a few hours and dig into the bus. And that has been a motivator and enabler for me, because there's things that by myself I couldn't do. And so that's been great. All right, next question. Why are you gutting the bus? You may see some bus conversions on YouTube where they leave the floors in, they leave the walls in, they don't take down the ceiling and then build inside of that cavity. They even leave all the school bus windows in. And I have decided that for various reasons, that I want to start from the shell and build outward. Some of those reasons are things like the floor that was in the bus. It was a ½ an inch of plywood that had some undercoating on it, but it was already rotting in places. It was weak. And I want something that's going to be beefy, and it's going to stand up, and it's going to be treated so that it'll withstand all the crazy weather that I could get caught up in. So for example, the floor that's going in is 3/4 inch marine grade plywood that'll have an epoxy resin on the outside. And that should stand up to time. And I'll put some insulation, about 1 inch of insulation on top of that, and then I'll put a finished floor on top of the insulation. And I'll use that XPS foam board as the floor insulation. I can get into the rest of it, but I am going to put in much better insulation. I'm going to replace the windows with RV windows that are designed to take a beating and still open and close and have bug screens. I need to put antennas on the roof, so I needed access to the roof. Everything's going to get spray foamed. There's a whole bunch of stuff that if I didn't gut the bus, it would be really hard to do. So, gutting the bus. I did mention the floor. People wanted to know, hey, that floor doesn't look so bad. Isn't that good enough? And particularly as we've dug into it, we found that no, it really wasn't. The underlying infrastructure underneath the wood, the steel framing that's in the body is amazing. And it looks like new in places. Super strong, really well welded. It's going to be a great basis to start the new floor on, and it'll be really sturdy. What kind of furnishings are going to be in the bus? It's going to be fairly simple. Across the back, there's going to be a bed that'll be elevated. Underneath that will be storage space. There'll be a dinette, actually just right over here on this side. And the dinette will be sized such that the table can be dropped down. The back foam pieces can be pulled off and dropped onto the table, and you have a bed, at least for someone who's under 6 feet tall. There'll be a kitchen area, and the kitchen area will have a good electric refrigerator. There'll be a water pump in there where we can get fresh water. I'm not going to have a water heater. I'm not going to have a shower. I will have a toilet area that'll be closed off. But I'm only going out for a few days. If I need to put up a shower, I'll hang something outside the bus and do a hiker's shower. You can get these they're like a gallon of water that they hold, and they're black, and you hang them in a sunny spot. It warms up the water, and you can get a good rinse. So we'll do that. But the furnishings will be relatively simple and straightforward, nothing super fancy. It's not a year-round home. It's a go out for 5 days or respond to an emergency. How big is the bus? How big is the bus? The bus is about 23 feet long, which makes it just a hair longer than a full-sized Ford F-150 pickup with the 8-foot bed. So it's big, but it's not shockingly big. And so that works out great. And then it's about as wide as you're legally allowed to go on a vehicle like this, which ends up giving me about 8 feet of width as I'm going down the road. So it's a pretty good size vehicle. It's not tiny, but it's also small enough that any place you could take a full-size pickup, I can probably take this. I've driven it to like a local Quickie Mart place, and I made sure I parked not right at the front door. I parked down a bit, but I had no problem backing into a space. And I could still see the parking lot lines next to the bus, but it was tight. It was tight. Next question. Do you need a commercial driver's license to drive the bus? And this is a great question. So, as originally titled by the state of Washington, yes, you had to have a commercial driver's license, or a CDL, to drive this vehicle. However, the seats are removed, all the signage has been removed, the emergency lights or the stop lights have been all covered. And so in the state of Washington, and this may not be true where you live, but in the state of Washington, if you do all that, then you add, at least for a period of time, some sort of toilet assembly or kitchen assembly and some kind of a bed. You can get it retitled as an RV. This vehicle is now titled as an RV. I put in things that were necessary for a time in order to qualify for that licensing. And so its title is an RV, and as an RV, no, I do not need a commercial driver's license to drive it. So I can drive it now as it's titled, and it's fine. It's also currently insured, so that's all on the up and up. They've had pictures of it. The insurance company knows exactly what I'm doing. And in fact, they gave me a temporary policy while I'm doing this work so that I can do things like go pick up big sheets of wood and things like that. And then at the end of July, I'll go back to the insurance company. We'll review some of these videos. That's one of the reasons we're doing the videos. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we'll come up with a valuation, and they'll decide, what my policy is going to be. All right, is the bus gasoline or diesel powered? It is gasoline powered. It has a 6-liter GM V8. There are times I wish it was diesel, especially going up hills in particular. It'd be nice to have a little more grunt to it. But as I learn to drive it, I'm learning to get enough out of this gasoline engine that'll get me places. And honestly, there are some of the little towns and such that we go to up in the mountains, they'll have gasoline, they may not have diesel. And then this particular diesel engine, hello mosquito, this particular gasoline engine is known to be pretty bulletproof. It's not great on fuel economy, but they're tanks of an engine, and if you do the oil changes, they'll last 300,000 miles. I've only got 40,000 on it now, so it'll outlive me. And it's got enough poop to it to pull 9,000 pounds of bus, which is what I'm projecting it'll be when it's done. It's about 8,000 now, but it'll pull 9,000 pounds of bus around no problem. So that's that. Okay, why are you making videos about the conversion? There's actually several reasons. One, it's knowing that I can share it with friends is an encouragement to me, and it keeps me moving ahead. So that's one reason. I also have people like you that want to see them, and that's kind of cool too. And then there's the insurance angle. I want the insurance company to be able to review these to understand that a great deal of thought, care, and really good engineering went behind what went on in this vehicle, so that they don't hesitate to get me the insurance that I'm going to need. Last question I have on my list. Are you making your videos with your cell phone camera? Some people had some technical questions. No. As you can see, my cell phone's in my hand, and we're making a video right now. So, no, I have a DJI Osmo Pocket 3 that I'm using to make these videos. It's a 4K camera, and I bought, I think it's called the Creator Edition, which means it has a microphone that goes with it. And the microphone seems to sound pretty natural. Sounds like me. It's a breeze to use. There's a few things to get over, and this system will do a whole lot more than I ever push it to do. So it's for me, it works great. And if you want to know more about how I'm using it, or if I'm doing things like, are you doing your own color grading and things like that, drop me a note, and I can get you more data. So those are the questions that I had today. If you have other questions, please, like I said earlier, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to put those answers in there. And if we need to make a secondary video to cover a particular topic, we can do that. In the meantime, if you're building your own bus, or if you're working on a trailer or utility truck, whatever you got going on, I hope your build goes at least as well as mine. Mine has been amazing, and great friends helping out. And if you want to see something in particular in a video, let me know about that. Until the next time, I'll see you later.